The dust from my truck hadn't even settled when I saw her marching across what was supposed to be my property. She moved with a kind of righteous fury that only comes from years of unchecked authority. Her clipboard was clutched like a weapon, her designer sunglasses catching the afternoon sun like twin shields of entitlement. I had driven 18 hours straight from Seattle to claim my inheritance, my grandfather's 40-acre ranch in rural Colorado. Grandpa Joe had passed 3 months ago, and the grief still sat heavy in my chest. This land was all I had left of him, the place where I spent every childhood summer learning to ride horses, mend fences, and appreciate the kind of silence you can't find in the city. "Excuse me." The woman's voice cut through the air like a saw blade. "You're trespassing on HOA property." I stepped out of my truck, my legs stiff from the long drive. "I'm sorry, what?" She looked to be in her mid-50s, wearing a white polo with an embroidered logo, khaki capris, and spotless white sneakers that had clearly never touched real ranch dirt. Her honey blonde hair was pulled back so tight it looked painful. "I'm Patricia Moreland, president of the Sage Valley Homeowners Association. This property was seized for unpaid HOA dues and sold at auction 2 weeks ago." She shoved a paper toward me. "The new owners take possession tomorrow." My blood went cold. "That's impossible. My grandfather owned this land outright for 47 years. There is no HOA. Patricia's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "The Sage Valley HOA was established in 2019. All properties within our boundaries are automatically enrolled. Your grandfather was sent multiple notifications. He died in April," I said, my voice shaking, "and this property was never part of any HOA. My grandfather chose this land because it was outside any development. That may have been true once, but the county redrew boundary lines when we incorporated. If you don't leave immediately, I'll have to call the authorities." She pulled out her phone with manicured fingers. I pulled out my own paperwork, the deed, the will, everything my grandfather's lawyer had sent me. "I'm Jake Morrison. Joseph Morrison was my grandfather. According to this, I inherited this property free and clear. There's no mortgage, no liens, and definitely no HOA." Patricia barely glanced at the documents. "Those are outdated. The property was legally sold 2 weeks ago to a developer from Denver. They're planning a lovely equestrian community, very upscale. The sale is already finalized." My hand was shaking now. "You can't just sell someone's property without." "We followed all legal procedures," she interrupted, her voice dripping with condescension. "Multiple certified letters were sent. When no response was received and dues remained unpaid for 18 months, we exercised our right to foreclose. It's all in the HOA bylaws, which your grandfather agreed to when the HOA was formed." "He was in hospice for the last year of his life," I shouted, no longer caring about staying calm. "He couldn't respond to anything. And even if he could have, he never agreed to join your HOA because this property isn't part of it." Patricia's expression hardened. "Young man, I don't appreciate your tone. I'm trying to be professional here." "Professional? You sold my grandfather's ranch out from under me while I was burying him." She raised her phone. "I'm calling 911. She said I was becoming threatening. I was standing on my own land, but she was already dialing, turning away from me with dramatic flair. "Yes, hello. I need police assistance at 4750 County Road 39. There's an aggressive trespasser refusing to leave HOA property. He's hostile. I feel unsafe." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She had stolen my inheritance and was now calling the police on me. While Patricia spoke in urgent, frightened tones to the dispatcher, completely inventing how aggressive I was, I called the only person I could think of, Linda Chavez, my grandfather's lawyer. "Jake." Linda answered on the second ring. "Are you at the ranch?" "Linda, there's a woman here claiming the HOA sold the property." She said, "What?" "Hold on. Slow down." "Oh?" I explained everything while Patricia watched from about 20 feet away, still on her phone, now apparently calling someone else, probably her husband or the supposed new owner. Linda was silent for a long moment. "Jake, your grandfather's property was never part of any HOA. I handled all his affairs. There were no dues, no letters, nothing. Can you send me photos of whatever documents she has?" "She won't let me see them up close." "Get photos anyway and don't leave the property." "I'm 2 hours away, but I'm coming now. If the police arrive first, be polite. Show them your deed and explain everything calmly. Don't let them intimidate you into leaving." 2 sheriff's deputies arrived 30 minutes later. Patricia rushed toward them immediately, her face twisted with distress. "Officers, thank goodness. This man has been yelling at me, threatening me. I told him this property belongs to the HOA now, but he refuses to listen. Deputy Martinez, a tired-looking man in his 40s, turned to me. Sir, can you explain what's happening? I took a deep breath and pulled out my documents. My name is Jake Morrison. My grandfather, Joseph Morrison, passed away 3 months ago and left me this ranch. I have the deed, the will, and the death certificate right here. I arrived today to take possession of my inheritance, and this woman is claiming the property was sold by an HOA my grandfather never belonged to. Martinez studied the papers carefully while his partner, Deputy Chung, spoke quietly with Patricia. This deed appears legitimate, Martinez said. It shows clear ownership by Joseph Morrison transferred to you after his death. Patricia cut in sharply. But that deed doesn't override HOA covenants. We sent certified letters. We followed all legal procedures. Ma'am, Deputy Chung said cautiously, do you have documentation proving this specific property is part of your HOA? Of course, Patricia said, fumbling with her clipboard. The boundaries are clearly, well, it's all in our master plat filed with the county. And do you have proof that Mr. Morrison, the elder Mr. Morrison, received notice of HOA membership and foreclosure proceedings? Martinez asked. Patricia's confidence faltered. The letters were sent to the property address. My grandfather was in hospice, I said quietly. He wasn't living here, and he never would have agreed to join an HOA. He bought this land because it was private, unincorporated property. Deputy Martinez, look at the situation between us. This is a civil issue, not a criminal one. Ma'am, you can't have someone arrested for trespassing when the ownership of the land is disputed. Sir, he said, turning to me, I strongly recommend you contact a lawyer right away and resolve this through the proper legal channels. My lawyer is already on her way, I replied. Patricia's face flushed red. This is outrageous. I have a fiduciary duty to the HOA members. The sale was legal. Then you'll have to prove that in court, Martinez said firmly. For now, this young man has a deed showing he inherited this property, and until a judge rules otherwise, he has every right to be here. After the deputies left, warning both of us to keep the peace, Patricia stood at the property line, shaking with anger. You haven't heard the last of this, she hissed. The HOA has lawyers too, very good ones, and when we prove the sale was legal, you'll pay for the time and expense of dealing with your obstruction. I'm looking forward to it, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She stormed off to her white Lexus SUV, spinning dust as she sped away. When Linda arrived 2 hours later, she brought a stack of documents nearly 6 inches thick. We sat on my grandfather's porch, my porch now, as she spread everything out. Jake, I've been digging all afternoon. The Sage Valley HOA does exist, but their legal boundaries are clearly defined, and your grandfather's property sits a quarter mile outside them. They have absolutely no jurisdiction here. Relief washed over me. So the sale isn't legal? The sale is completely fraudulent. I've already spoken with the county recorder's office. No legal foreclosure was filed, no auction took place, and no deed was ever transferred. Patricia Moreland appears to have fabricated the entire transaction. But why? Linda's expression darkened. I asked around, and it turns out a developer has been trying to buy land in this area for years. Your grandfather refused to sell. I think Patricia saw an opening after he died, forged documents, intimidated the heir, and planned to flip the property to her developer friend for a hefty finder's fee. That's fraud, I said. That's criminal. Yes, it is, she replied. I've already contacted the district attorney's office, and they're very interested in speaking with Ms. Moreland. 3 weeks later, I stood on that same porch and watched as Patricia Moreland was led from her own home in handcuffs. The local news called it HOA foreclosure fraud. She'd apparently tried the same scheme on 2 other properties owned by elderly or deceased residents. The charges included fraud, forgery, and attempted theft. The developer from Denver turned out to be her brother-in-law, and he was arrested as well. I spent that first summer on the ranch repairing fences, repainting the barn, and learning how to breathe again. Every sunset reminded me of Grandpa Joe, and every morning felt like reclaiming something precious that had nearly been stolen. The Sage Valley HOA elected a new president and sent me a formal apology letter, confirming that my property had never been and never would be part of their association. I framed that letter and hung it beside Grandpa Joe's old ranch sign. Some people think they can take whatever they want if they sound confident enough. But the law doesn't care about clipboards or authority. It cares about the truth. And the truth was simple. This land was mine exactly as Grandpa Joe intended.